Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Franchise Spotlight. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 2015's Spectre. Let's go ahead and get this rolling. So 2015 does bring back Sam Mendes at the director's helm. Before he directed 2012's Skyfall, and he wanted to come back and make a statement. And he really did with this amazing 5-minute opening tracking shot to this movie. It is absolutely fantastic the way he directed this, the way the cinematography and the way the camera just kind of like goes around and shows you the world that they're in. And it is just outstanding. There's no other way to put it. I remember watching this in theaters and being absolutely floored by it. And then upon rewatch, it still holds up. It is fantastic and probably the best single opening to a James Bond film. So early on, there's a lot of banter between Q and James Bond. A lot of this I thoroughly enjoyed, of them just going back and forth. Bond is essentially suspended from active duty because he's going rogue early on. You later find out it is because M sent him on a mission post-mortem and sends him a cryptic message of how he needs to kill someone and follow and go down this rabbit hole and investigate what's really happening. Ultimately, he finds out it's Spectre. One thing that this film does that I absolutely loved is that when Bond goes to this super secret meeting of like this terrorist organization, there's a guy at the end of the table who we later find out is Blofeld, and it is the way that they reveal him is absolutely stunning. He's in the shadows, he talks. You don't see his face, so you don't know quite who it is. But when you do see who it is, it's also the same exact moment when Bond sees him. And I loved the way that they revealed that, because it's about 3 to 5 minutes of just this meeting going on. You can see everyone around the table. They're all talking about what to do, what the next steps are of growing their intelligence community. And Blofeld knows that Bond is watching, and he directs him personally and looks up, and as he looks up, he's revealed. And I thought that was absolutely outstanding the way they did that. And I love how they have the Bond and Moneypenny relationship, because Bond actually gives Moneypenny a phone, that way he could talk to her, and because he knows that he's suspended, like he shouldn't be out going rogue, is the way the MI6 sees it. But Moneypenny wakes up from a phone call from Bond, and the banter that they had was pretty good. Just shows that like Bond is like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be having relations, like, you know, just because they have like this weird flirty thing going on, and he kind of like inserts himself there. And I thought that was pretty funny, especially going back and like thinking about all the past James Bond films and how they've always had this like flirty kind of relationship. And then that just, again, furthered their relationship. So, one major thing about this film that I personally know a lot of people who don't like this film because of this reason is Spectre kind of retcons all the previous Daniel Craig villains. When you watch the other ones, like Casino Royale, Ashif is the villain because he owes a lot of money, and he needs to win these gambling tournaments and raise money for this terrorist organization and whatnot. And he owes a lot of people a lot of money. Well, when you watch Spectre, it's really Spectre that he owes the money to in Blofeld. And they don't ever acknowledge it in Casino Royale or any other previous movie. They only reference it in Spectre. Also, same thing with Silva. In Skyfall, he acts the way he does because Spectre is, you know, the puppeteer behind him. And a lot of people didn't like that because they feel that it takes away from the other movies, but I think that it further staples that Spectre, this terrorist intelligence community, is so well hidden and so in the shadows, so deep in the shadows, that you don't know really who's pulling the strings. You think it's like this one individual, like Le Chiffre, he's the sole villain, but when you watch further on and you watch Spectre, you're like, oh no, he was just a puppet for this terrorist organization. And I really liked that, because Spectre is talked about in previous James Bond films. I believe they're only in the Sean Connery ones, but it just further staples that like these people are so deep rooted into the shadows, so deep into other intelligence communities, that they're pulling strings all along. And I really liked that they went with this approach. Obviously that there was this whole legal battle with the character of Blofeld. That's why we haven't seen him since the 70s, I believe, since the 70s. And they were finally able to get the rights back, which is why he's the main villain in this, which also a lot of people were very excited for initially. I know that they didn't really react the way that the studio wanted them to, because Blofeld was making his grand entrance and he's like the mega Bond villain. And I like the fact that they brought him back in this fashion and how they did it, because it's not something that other people were expecting, but I like the way that they went about it, and they kind of retconned it, if you will, about how he went back and was controlling the Chief, how he was controlling Dominic Green in Quantum of Solace, and how he was controlling Silva, that these people were the villains the whole time. So I'm very curious to see how it continues in the next installment of James Bond, No Time to Die, which comes out later this year, because I believe from the trailer, if I'm remembering correctly, Blofeld is in the trailer, so meaning he's going to be in the next movie. Also, another problem that I know personally a lot of people had problems with this movie is that James Bond and Blofeld actually grew up together. They talk about how they were brothers, if you will, how Blofeld's dad took in James Bond once his parents died and kind of raised him as his own son and told Blofeld to look at James Bond as a brother, and they were brothers for 2 years. And while it may seem forced, if you do a little bit of research into it, Ian Fleming actually wrote it in that this is actually their relationship and how they started, because it's not talked about at all in the previous installments with Blofeld. So it may seem like it's left field, it may seem that it's completely like made up and how it's forced, and that's where the tension is originally rooted from, where yes, that is true. It actually originated from Ian Fleming and in the writings that he did way back when he was writing the James Bond books. So if you have a problem with it, then I don't know what to tell you. It's been there since pretty much day one, since Ian Fleming's been writing this. But me personally, I didn't have a problem with it. I actually found that to be kind of a twist and very insightful as to why Blofeld really hates Bond, because, Bond essentially took his father from him, because Blofeld's dad looked at James Bond more of a son than Blofeld, his actual son. And then, of course, at the end, we get the very iconic Blofeld scar over the left eye, and that just, that was the cool little character thing that happened that I kind of got giddy about when it popped up. And then, as we know, James Bond's car, iconic car in Skyfall, got destroyed, but they bring it back.
Bond? What are you doing here?
Good morning, Q.
I thought you'd gone.
I have. There's just one thing I need.
Perfect. I love this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I didn't really have that many problems with it, although I don't think it's near on the level of Skyfall. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 stars. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.